What's up, airplane collectors and professional nerds? Welcome to another model review. It's your host Ray. In today's video, I'll be reviewing the NG model 1:400 scale Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 8 in the Canyon Blue Special livery. This model is the second model released on NG model's new Boeing 737 MAX mold. NG model has had a very good 737 mold set, specifically with their 737 next generations, so I have very high expectations for this mold. In this video, I'll talk about the box, then the model itself, and at the end of the video, I will give my opinions about what I think of the model and the mold, and whether or not I recommend this model to other collectors. There's a lot to cover, so let's get this party started. Starting off with the box is a standard 1:400 scale narrow body size box at 12.5 centimeters lengthwise and height-wise, and about 4 centimeters wide. I'll show you around the box now. So here's the front, bottom, right side, top, left side, and here's the back side. Take a moment to try and read this if you can. Once you open up the box, you get the model itself fully painted and ready to go, and you get a pink Collector Rewards Program card. Before I begin the review, I'm going to give you a quick 360 of the model. The fuselage length for this model is 10 centimeters, the wingspan is 9 centimeters, and from the ground to the top of the vertical stabilizer, the model is about 3 centimeters tall. Accurate to 1:400 scale and relatively small compared to most things. This model is also slightly heavy because it is made primarily out of die-cast metal. Starting up the review at the front of the aircraft, here we can see the nose section of the airplane. So far, the nose shape and the profile looks pretty good. It seems to match the 737 MAX and 737 Next Generation pretty accurately, so no complaints up there. There's a decent amount of detail up at the front of the aircraft, including this little logo here. I'm not really sure what that says. It says Colleen Barrett, Heroine of the Heart. I probably butchered the pronunciation on at least 30 of those words, but yeah, that's gonna have to do for now. Everything looks pretty good up here. Printing looks good, shapes look good, no complaints so far. As we move down the fuselage, you can see more printed detail, which is just the windows. Not very much printed detail as usual, although that's probably because I can't see half of it because the aircraft is a blue color primarily instead of a white color. Here's the vertical stabilizer. Vertical stabilizer looks pretty good, has plenty of molded detail for the rudder, and the painted detail looks pretty good. All the paint lines seem to align properly, and colors look good so far. Here's the right side of the model. It's pretty much the same as the left side, so I won't provide much commentary, but everything that I can say about the left side of the aircraft, I can also say about the right side of the aircraft. Before I continue the review, I'd like to point out a small thing that I noticed. You can see a very easily defined red line or separation in the red line here for the red paint. And I'm not sure what really happened there, but I can also feel the surface a little bit textured with my pointer here. So red paint application really didn't go too well on this model because this red line is not present on the real thing. It is also present on the right side of the fuselage, although it's not as extreme as on the left side. Moving on to the wings. The wings in this model look pretty good. There's plenty of printed, painted, and molded detail to go around, all of which looks pretty good. The control surfaces are very well defined and easy to identify, and the forward slats look pretty good as well, including their reflective gray paint. All of it looks pretty solid. Underside of the wing, there's not really much to see, though the fairings here, I think that's what they're called, are painted red, which is very nice. It's a very nice detail and touch, which looks pretty good on both sides. The scimitar winglets on this model are very nice. You can see their shape is very well defined. The detail on them is very nice. You can even read the southwest.com logo there, which is good. Yeah, the edges are sharp as they should be, and the shape looks pretty correct. Here's what their angle looks like. Angle looks accurate and solid. And here's what the left side looks like. Quality control on the winglets was very good because their shapes are consistent and their details are very nicely replicated. Moving to the rear section of the aircraft, here we can see the horizontal stabilizers and the APU. The horizontal stabilizers look pretty solid. There's not really much to say here. There is a little bit of a gap between the attachment point of the horizontal stabilizers and the fuselage because you can definitely see the attachment point there, so I'm not really sure what went wrong. But it's on both sides and it looks symmetrical, so I won't complain too much. And the bottom looks like this. You can see the yellow line here didn't really align too well, so alignment wasn't the hottest on this model. And the APU, it's just there, it's just a lump with metallic paint on it, nothing too special. Nothing really much to complain about back here except for the gaps and the placement of the yellow line. Moving on to the engines. The engines have been an area of discussion on this model for sure, and that is likely because the line here didn't really look good in the model pictures, and it appears though, unfortunately, this line isn't really replicated the best on the model. This line here is supposed to be straight across the engine, not pointed downwards, and you can see on this one it is definitely pointed downwards. Aside from that, the exhaust looks really nicely shaped. Same deal with the chevrons back here. The chevrons edges are sharp and defined, which looks very good. As for fan blade details, the fan blades look really nice. Obviously they don't spin and there's no spinner spiral, but there's a decent amount of detail there, and the metallic gray paint looks very, very nice. Bottoms of the engines are nicely detailed as well. You can see a load of printed detail on the bottoms of these engines, which looks really, really nice. In terms of aerial features, this model features antennas and sat domes. The sat dome is right up here at the top of the aircraft, and this aircraft also has two antennas at the top of the aircraft. There's this large main antenna, which looks pretty good, and this smaller one here looks pretty good as well. Their placement looks good. I haven't seen any reports of broken antennas, so I hope to assume their placement and attachment is good. You can see the sat dome is a little bit asymmetrical with the center of the aircraft. It's pointed a little bit to the left, but the antennas, they seem to be mostly symmetrical, so overall antenna placement is good, just that sat dome is kind of not aligned right. At the bottom of the aircraft, we have three antennas. We've got one at the front of the aircraft right here, and two large antennas at the midsection of the aircraft, close to the main landing gear. These look pretty good as well. Since we're down here, I'm going to move on to the landing gear. The landing gear on this aircraft are pretty solid. I believe the main landing gear, they're the same exact landing gear as the 737 next generation mold. Oh, okay, I can see something that I only see on Gemini models. This is the first time I see this kind of thing on an NG model. You can see a bit of a crack in the paint here on the main landing gear. That's certainly a surprise. Looks like something was reattached or something like that. Very interesting. But yeah, main landing gears look pretty good. You can see the outside rims are painted red like on the real thing, which is very nice. And the wheels roll very smoothly, so overall the gear is pretty solid. I haven't checked the gear balance yet, but we will do that very shortly. As for the nose gear, this has been something of debate in the model collecting community due to the fact that on the 737 MAX, the nose gear is a little bit taller than that of the 737 NG. However, on multiple occasions, it's been very hard to identify a difference in height between the 737 MAX landing gear from NG and the 737 NG gear from NG. That was a tongue twister, holy cow. Here is a side view of the aircraft from a raised position, so you can see the height of the nose landing gear. It looks fine to me, however, I'm not 100% sure if this is accurate or not, so with this, form your own conclusion about that. I think the gear is fine, however, other collectors may disagree. If you have something to say about this, though, feel free to comment that down below. I'd definitely like to see a discussion about this, if this model is accurate or not, because I'm not 100% sure. Here's a view at the front of the aircraft where we can see cockpit window printing, gear balance, wing flex, all that good stuff. Cockpit window printing looks slightly asymmetrical, looks like it's bent maybe towards the right side of the aircraft just a little bit. Wing flex looks good as per usual with both the main wings and the horizontal stabilizers. Vertical stabilizer looks aligned, gear balance looks good, engine clearance looks good. Almost all of the checkboxes are checked here in the front except for that cockpit window printing, but it's a very minor detail, so I'm going to let that slide just a little bit. And that's the end of my review. Now time for my personal opinion and recommendation. This model, the plane itself is absolutely gorgeous, and this model is very nicely done. It does have its issues, like the paint application and the alignment of the yellow lines, and the issues that I mentioned earlier with the landing gear being a little bit inconsistent, but it's still a pretty solid model nonetheless. It's a little bit better than what the competition would be able to offer with their 737 MAX molds and their quality recently. If you know who I'm referring to, you know who I'm referring to. Gemini Jets. Anyway, so it's a solid model, and quality control issues were anticipated by us collectors since this model was part of a very large release set. So unfortunately, yeah, quality control did suffer a little bit, but not by very much. Therefore, I absolutely recommend this model to anyone who wants it because regardless, it's a beautiful aircraft. An NG model did very good on this 737 MAX mold, and I can't wait to see what other models come from this mold. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please think about liking the video and subscribing. I appreciate the feedback a lot. And speaking of feedback, feel free to drop a comment down below, ask any questions, tell me what you thought. And if you get your own example, tell me about yours. Hopefully you got a good example with no quality control issues. That's all I've got for you guys today. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more airplane, spacecraft, and eventually siren content. I will get there. And I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourselves. Catch you in my next video.